Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. The Knicks win in maybe a little more of a nail biter than you would have hoped for against the Sixers team missing their three best players. But nonetheless, the Knicks beat Gavin, an 8-2 team coming into the night. 103-96 Knicks win over the Sixers. What are we going to talk about with this game?
Yeah, the Knicks go, what is it, like 5 years without being Philly and win two in a row, and it feels like, this is kind of disappointing. But this game was all about Julius Randle, a guy we've done nothing but complain about the last few weeks on the podcast. Well, he was Julius Randle of old, or at least Julius Randle of last year, 31 points, 12 boards, spectacular shooting, carrying the Knicks down the stretch. So that'll be our focal point, maybe a little bit in terms of how Philly came back and some other highlights for the Knicks. All that and more right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is brought to you by rockauto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. And as always, we wanted to thank you guys for making us your first listen. Of course, you can catch us anywhere that you get podcasts, but you can also catch us on YouTube now. If you haven't checked that out yet, we're rapidly growing. Maybe, I don't know. We're up over like 300 something subscribers now. If you guys could go on and drop us a subscription, maybe some likes here and there. Occasionally, toxic fans of other teams have found our videos so far and tried to downvote them. So hopefully we can get some Knicks Nation love on that. Anyway, I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland. I'm also writing about the Knicks for Clutch Points this year. He is Gavin Shaw, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster, and this is Locked On Knicks. We are breaking down the Knicks 103-96 win over the Sixers. And Gavin, I didn't even think about that before you just said that in the intro, but it's kind of hilarious that the Knicks had gone literally since like 2017 or whatever it was between wins over the Sixers, and now are 2-0 over them this year. And like the Sixers, look, even a hobbled version are no slouches. If you think about it, Harris has been out for a minute and they've still been doing pretty well. They haven't had Simmons the whole year. Obviously you lose Joel Embiid, who's an MVP candidate, and suddenly things seem a little worse than they have been prior to that. But still, a team that was 8-2 coming into this game, and the Knicks beat them and now draw within a game of the Sixers at 7-4. One lesson that I'm seeing so far this year, and this is really big picture, but no team in the East can really be taken easily this year. Maybe the Pistons and maybe the Magic on a bad day, but I mean, it's been kind of crazy to see the amount of parity. I mean, we literally right after this Knicks game went final, I went and caught the end of the Bulls and Nets game, and the Bulls just kind of like eviscerated the Nets in that game. But the Knicks have beaten the Bulls already. Like, just there's so much going on right now in the East, and it's kind of cool to see. But the Knicks apparently have the Sixers number so far this year, regardless of if they were more than a little shorthanded in this game.
Yeah, and look, the Knicks, like it's pretty clear they're a good team, but you can't take any win for granted, like with the Knicks specifically, right? They've lost all these games this year. We talk about it over and over again. They had no excuse not winning. Tonight, it looked like they were going to have an easy one. They were up by 19 in the first half. They were still up by 14 at halftime. And then Philly comes storming back. And you need that heroic Julius Randle performance because, I don't know, Alex, I bet you probably had the same creeping feeling that I had, that probably everyone watching had, is Seth Curry was draining corner threes and Andre Drummond was jamming home lob dunks on Taj Gibson's head. I was like, oh man, this is another one of those nights where they're going to find a way to lose this. And Randle, like, to his credit, said, nah, like I'm not going to let that happen. Comes off the bench like about halfway through the fourth quarter, hits two big threes, gets a big offensive rebound and put back on a Kemba miss. And it felt like one of those moments where he sort of rediscovered his identity in the Knicks context. And again, it's easier for him when he gets to play hero ball. And this is something I talked about with Prez yesterday. Like when he doesn't have to be indecisive, when there's a lot of clarity in terms of his role, when he's shooting well, and he's obviously the guy to go to on a night where no other Knicks scored over 15 points. Like that feels a little bit easier. But tonight it was absolutely necessary, and he carried the Knicks to a win that, again, was far from automatic. Like this was a game they very well could have lost if he played it just a little bit worse.
Yeah, I liked how Randle played too, and I'll fully admit I was kind of moaning a little bit about taking Obi Toppin out of the game and putting Randle back in when they did. Because you sort of reached this point where I think we were just about to get treated to a little bit of Randle and Obi small ball, and then we did for like a minute or something, or no, I think they still had RJ at the 4 at that particular moment, and then made the switch to put Taj Gibson back in for Obi because Drummond came in. And like with how good Drummond was on the boards, I mean, I got to say, like, Drummond looked really engaged in this game. I know that he's a guy that it's so fleeting with him, whether he's fully engaged or not, but he for sure was fully engaged in this game. And it showed. I mean, the rebounds were not cheap. He had 25 in total, 14 points, 25 boards. I mean, he earned all of those. And he I think, played a really good game. And if you would have tried to play small ball with Drummond out there, it would have been kind of screwed. So it pretty much came down to, as it does a lot of nights, a decision between Randle or Toppin. And Tibbs went with Randle. And, based off how good Toppin's been playing lately, I think that, a lot of us probably would have said, oh, man, you should have just stuck with Obi for just a couple more minutes. He came in, he gave you some good energy in the second half. In the only few minutes that he got, he only ends up with 9 total in the second half there. But it's tough to complain at all when Julius then comes out and does exactly what you needed him to do. And quite frankly, to your point, Julius played hero ball, but in a good way. He was the hero. He wasn't just trying to play hero ball. He succeeded in playing hero ball. And, that's obviously the difference any given night. But, he you can't have Obi Toppin out there and then be like, okay, go hit a step back 3 and then go hit this and then go hit this other 3 with a hand in your face and then, do all these things. You could have seen some of the stuff from Obi out there, like the putback late in the game, that Randle had off the offensive rebound. Obviously, that's something that Obi makes a living off of right now. But, if you could get Randle to do that, then all the better, because Randle can also hit those step back 3s. I think this was a good sign, I think, ultimately, as far as Randle's concerned, because part of what we've been getting on him for early in the season has been, waning effort. And, it just kind of seems to be inconsistent with him, how much he cares about any given situation. And he's been letting little things get him down. Like in other games this year, we've already seen in situations like where the Knicks coughed up the lead in that third quarter a bit, that's broken Randle at certain points this year already, or at least made him angry enough that he just kind of stops giving full effort on both sides of the ball. And that never happened in this game. And that also never happened, for example, in the Bucks game when the Knicks were down by so much in that game. Randle, didn't let that deter him and he kept going. And so hopefully, as long as he keeps setting that sort of example, that puts aside any of these concerns that we've had with him early in the season. Like if he just kind of, that's how he played last year, where he was unflappable. He was the leader. He was the guy that you could count on to keep a cool head by and large and hit shots when you need them and stuff like that. So if he's back to doing that, which again, in this one, 31 points, 12 of 25 shooting, 5 of 10 from 3, 12 boards, actually only 3 assists, which is somewhat low for him, but also only 3 turnovers. I mean, he did everything you possibly could have wanted in this game, and particularly down the stretch, which was the most important time of the game, obviously. So, yeah, I loved his performance. I thought he was really, really good. And honestly, there, like you said, there was some other good performances on the team, but there wasn't really another super standout performance, especially not from the starters, at least not for the full 48. And Randle really did that in his 36 minutes in this game, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I want to get into, I think Kemba Walker was the guy who also helped guide the Knicks down the stretch. But first, Alex, you want to tell us a little bit about one of our newest favorite sponsors?
Oh yeah, let me talk a little bit here about Prize Picks. All right, NBA fanatics, have you heard about Prize Picks? Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and I know you will too. PrizePicks has the best NBA daily fantasy sports prop game on the market. PrizePicks offers more NBA props than any other daily fantasy sport prop operator and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. All of our Locked On Knicks users that deposit and use our promo code will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Just be sure to use promo code NBA. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks allows mixed sport entries as well. You can take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. And you can use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is really that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use promo code NBA, or go to your App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy.
And today's episode is also brought to you by Truebill. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. We promise we don't do that on Locked On Knicks. You don't pay us anything directly. But anyways, Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forget about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. That's amazing. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users and helps save them over $100 million. Like Matthew B., who says, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my SiriusXM bill, saved $840 a year on my car insurance. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Something you do have to fall for. You have to fall in love with Locked On Knicks. We want to thank you for making us your first listen today on every day. And every day. We are now available on all platforms, including, and you already know this if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching us, what are you doing? Go watch us. Go throw us a subscription on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And let's get back into this game, Alex. A 103-96 victory for the New York Knicks over the Philadelphia 76ers. I wanted to talk Kemba Walker a little bit. It was on paper, again, not a great game, just 3 for 9 from the field, just 1 for 6 from 3, 8 points, 5 assists. But I thought down the stretch, the 2-man game with him and Julius Randle was really impactful. He was the guy who had the slip pass to Randle when Randle hit the top of the key three that I think gave the Knicks, it was something like it was a 97-91 lead. And that was sort of the separator. That was the last time it was a 1-possession game. Took advantage of the extra attention paid to Randle. I think they did a little pick and roll together, and 2 defenders went with Randle, sprinted into the lane and 1 floater. That felt like a big moment. I think Kemba, he's maybe had 1 other and 1 this entire season. It's not something we've seen a whole lot from him so far in terms of getting all the way to the lane. And then he comes back, steals the inbounds pass. It's a play you'd probably associate with a younger, more energetic player, but that was Kemba just being an absolute gamer. And I think, again, not a spectacular performance. You still saw a lot of his current limitations throughout this one, but there was that taste of like, oh yeah, this dude has the heart of a champion. Like, this is the guy who led UConn on that incredible run and like guided Charlotte to, it sounds like an insult, but mediocre season after mediocre season when they had no business even being average. Who had, despite a largely disappointing tenure there, some massive, massive performances for the Boston Celtics. Like this is who Kemba Walker is, like, even on a night when he didn't play that well. And it was a good reminder in what the Knicks have in him.
Yeah, well, and so 2 people that were tweeting about Kemba tonight that are friends of the show, Ariel Pacheco and Shwinny Poo. Ariel had said at one point, like earlier in the game, like, is it concerning to anybody else, like how little Kemba Walker gets to the rim these days and how little he's getting downhill and generating that sort of stuff? And, then it was, so people were jokingly saying to Ariel, like, oh, he read the tweets, because all of a sudden, in that final stretch of the game, he started doing that. And Schwinn has been complaining for like weeks now about, the fact that Kemba doesn't really, or hasn't really been sort of taking the reins and being like the point guard. And he managed to do that. I think this is probably the first game that he's led the Knicks in assists this year. And down the stretch, he was actually doing that. Like he was directing things a bit. And like earlier in this game too, I don't recall exactly if they were Kemba looks, but like Julius was finding more spot up threes early in this game as well, which is something that I think that he really needs to do. If Kemba can start running, say, like pick and rolls with Noel, and you have Julius just kind of hanging in the corner or on the wing for three, and you can kick to him, that's a really valuable thing to have where you don't have to make Julius work for it. And he can just kind of like shoot a three without having to do it off a step back or whatever, as much as we kind of joke about like he actually kind of does better when he has to create the step back and play hero ball or whatever. There is really no better shot in the NBA right now, by and large, other than something at the rim than a nice, easy spot up three that you could take wide open. And I think that if Kemba starts embracing getting downhill more, that might be something that opens up more. But yeah, maybe the rest day was good as far as helping keep his legs spry and getting him ready for this game. But down the stretch, he looked like Kemba of old. And that little steal that you mentioned as well, the steal off the inbounds was great. It was like a throwback Pablo Prigioni moment, which I haven't gotten to feel those feelings in a while. So that was nice to see as well. But yeah, I enjoyed his game a lot. I thought it was really good. And I think it could maybe only be a little overshadowed by one Emmanuel Quickly. If I could throw it to another player that I thought had a really good game, I think Quickly's kind of got his mojo back, which would be awesome if that's the case. But tell me if this sounds familiar. Almost scored a point per minute in this game, which used to be like his signature move last year, was scoring a point per minute on his best nights. 10 points in 16 minutes, 3 of 4 from the field, which also just translates to 3 of 4 from three. Shot 1 and 2 from the free throw line. Also had 3 assists. I mean, I've really been liking the energy that Quick's playing with these last few games. I like that he's taking smarter shots, I think, is the big thing. And he doesn't seem to be forcing it anymore. He also seems to not be thinking about everything quite so much. You could just see that, like, the games when he was really struggling shooting, it felt like he took that extra half a second to think about the shot before he was shooting it. And as Clyde might say, it seemed like he was aiming his shots and like he wasn't just shooting like he's capable of doing. And that'll always kind of doom you as a shooter in the NBA. So I think that, there was that we've seen over the last couple games, and this maybe even goes back as far as the Bucks game, that he's really starting to kind of find his groove again. And hopefully the shooting numbers stick around, because I think that that's going to be really key for him, is that he keeps shooting the three well. I don't think he's going to shoot 3 or 4 any given night. But if he can start leveling back out, have, maybe a week or so where he shoots about 50%, all of a sudden his percentages might start creeping back up to respectable again after shooting like 35%, 29% or whatever his 2-point and 3-point slash line so far was this year. But yeah, I really liked what I saw from Quickly. I've been liking what I'm seeing from him lately, and I think it's going to start getting pretty hard pretty soon for Tibbs to justify playing him less than like at least what he got in this game, like 16, hopefully upwards of 17, 18, maybe even 20 minutes a game if he keeps playing the way he is, because I think at his best, he's offering something on a different level from what a player like, say, Burks is doing, even though Burks does his job really well with creating shots and everything, because Quickly is now really embracing those point guard skills. And I think that his passing has really been taking a step these last few games as well.
Yeah, I mean, his and Obi's chemistry has been just amazing. Like, I get excited every time Obi sets a screen for Quickly. It feels like the expected points is something like 1.5 or something nuts like that. But I'm with you. I mean, I said it the last couple of pods. I think he has a swagger back. Like that is all I think of when a player starts shooting the ball a little bit quicker. It feels like, excuse the pun, it feels like confidence, right? Like, it's like, oh, I'm not even going to think about this. Like, I'm just going to throw it up and it's going to go in. And he had that on, I think it was the play in I can't remember if it was early fourth or late third, where Tyrese Maxey just fell down. And IQ is just like, all right, I'm just going to pour this one in from 25 feet. And I wrote down in my notes, it sort of feels like we have our boy back. Like he was missing for most of not missing well, he's missing shots, but it felt like the version of Quickly at his best was just like didn't exist so far this year. And the longer it went on, the more I was like, like how real was what we saw from last year? Now, 3 straight games of really high level shooting, high level playmaking. So yeah, it's really, really exciting from Quickly. I want to get into Evan Fournier because I thought he had an interesting game, and I was sort of surprised that he didn't play more. But first, Alex, let's get into some Rock Auto.
Yeah, of course. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. And you guys know the drill. There's so many makes and models of cars out there now. It's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why would you want to endure all that pointless and intimidating questioning, like about the minutia of your car and various things that you don't need to answer about? You kind of just need the part that you came in there for. Well, you could just go to rockauto.com and not only save yourself the hassle, but save yourself a ton of money, because you know that when you go into those auto parts stores, you always leave with a bill that makes you question why you're even trying to be a home mechanic today, because it's just so exorbitant to have that amount of money paid to then do it yourself and potentially screw it up instead of just taking it to a mechanic. So that's why you go to Rock Auto. You know, why would you want to spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for those same parts from that chain store, or just don't even do it, but a car dealership? I mean, they're going to charge you even more. And on top of it, Rock Auto is a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and they have reliably low prices for every customer. They are not going to charge you a different rate than they charge a mechanic, which is another common trope that you run into at those auto parts stores. The mechanics are paying like 75% or less of what you're paying for any given thing. So definitely check out rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. And if you decide to buy something, right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, Gavin. So to move to some other performances in this game, who did you want to talk to next? Because we sort of
Evan Fournier, because I thought, one, let me just throw out there, I've like hinted at this before, but just objectively, one of the most aesthetically pleasing offensive games in the NBA. Like, the dude is so smooth. Like, I can't really think of another word to describe his game. Like, the way he had the pump fake into the one dribble leading jumper. Like, it just, every single time it looks gorgeous. Like when he caught it on the right wing wide open for 3, it's about as picture perfect as a jump shot could be. Like, it's almost, this may be sacrilegious to say, but it almost is kind of Ray Allen-esque, like when he gets really good elevation and he has a lot of room to get it off. And then on top of that, like his passing was pretty darn good in this one. Or even before he got into his passing, he had that run out where there was a loose ball and he just got it and like sprinted through the defense. Then had a really nice ball fake that led to like a swing sequence that got Kemba an open 3, which Kemba missed. But then got a basket off of this one, 70-foot full court pass off a tip rebound to Julius Randle, who did a good job running the floor for a dunk. Then went behind his back for a long range, like midi 2. They had that transition 3, had a righty banker on the left side. Like you got to see the full diversity of his game. And I was sort of disappointed that Tibbs stuck with Alec Burks so long in the second half, who was mostly not playing well, had like one really nice layup. And I was thinking, like, get Fournier in there with that second unit. And I think Fournier would be really, like, with Rose and Quickly and Fournier, that's so much ball handling, so much shooting. And as much as Burks gives you some of that, Fournier takes it to another level. I have a feeling for Tibbs that decision is more about defense. And he probably thinks, and I assume knows infinitely more than I do about this, that Burks is quite a bit better, or at least quite a bit better in certain matchups than Fournier is on that end of the floor. But I don't know. I like Fournier, and I'm sort of surprised on nights where he's shooting well, he's not given the leeway that like an RJ Barrett is. And I think that's all a defense thing, but to get some minutes with the second unit and see if he can stay hot and see if he could be the alpha dog when guys like Julius and Kemba and RJ are not on the floor.
Yeah. It's funny, like to your point about how beautiful Fournier's game is to watch sometimes. I think it makes it that much more frustrating anytime one of his shots doesn't go in, because every time I see him elevate for one, I'm just like, bang. And then it's like, wait, what? Like, why didn't that go in? And it gets very frustrating sometimes. Like in this game, he only shot 1 or 4 from 3. And actually those 3 misses from 3 were his only misses. And it's like, I just expect every single 3 that he takes to go in. And then when they don't, I'm just like, come on, like why did that? It looks so good. But yeah, I agree. I mean, he has his scoring package is really good. I do think one thing that I've kind of noticed, and it wasn't really on display in this game. Like I think he did pretty well given his minutes allotment in this game. Like played 27 minutes, shot 5 of 8, had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, that's fine production. I think one thing that I've noticed with him this year is that I had heard, this wasn't as much like I took kind of everything from the Celtics side with him with a grain of salt because it was just such a weird situation last year. But I think we heard this from Philip when we had him on from Locked On Magic, and I had heard it from people on Twitter and whatever, like that he could be a little up and down. And that's like the only thing is like he'll average out to a really great score throughout the whole year, and everything will look good most of the time. But there's just like certain nights where he just doesn't hit, and certain nights where he does hit. And in many ways, that sort of reminds me of Burks too. So maybe that's another sort of parallel between how they play and what they do. That said, I do think, like, I agree with you that I think that Fournier in general just does a variety of things better than Burks, in the sense that like he's much better at moving without the ball. He's much better at finding his spots that way, running like little 2-man games and stuff like that. Whereas Burks' utility by and large is just, pull-up shooting is basically his main utility. You know what I mean? He does a little bit in terms of, they run the whole point Burks thing out there sometimes. And he has moments maybe running a quick pick and roll, but usually it's to try to free him up for a pull-up shot. I think that that's just his main utility, is to go out there and just shoot pull-ups and do it at a high level. And in certain games, like in this one, it wasn't really working for him. And so the Burks minutes were not the best of any of the players that they could have possibly had out there today, which was a little disappointing. I did want to speak. I want to talk about someone who did make the most of their minutes, though, and that was Taj Gibson, who I feel like I don't know how many times do I have to say like how good Taj is in whatever amount of time that he's given to play, but like played 31 minutes, 7 points, 8 rebounds, an assist, 2 blocks, 3 of 4 field goals, and had 5 personal fouls. And honestly, did a great job down the stretch of this game not fouling out, considering he was up against Andre Drummond, who, I already shouted out earlier, was actually having one of the better games like overall that I think I've seen him play in at least a couple seasons now. And, I really liked how Taj played in this game. He unfortunately had to play 31 minutes because Mitch was out for the night, and then Noel went down with a mysterious knee injury of some sort. They showed the replay, and I couldn't really see what happened. I think
Danny Green just like kind of, his like elbow fell into Nerlens' knee is what I saw.
I guess, yeah. It just didn't look like it really like bent or anything. You know what I mean? Like, but sometimes
it doesn't. Maybe just a bruise. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Colin Sexton's thing didn't look like much the other day, and then it came up as a torn meniscus. So hopefully it's not that for Nerlens. He definitely looked like he was hobbled though. Going back to the locker room. So Nerlens only ended up playing 12 minutes. And so Taj had to play like a good chunk of the second half. I think he played basically the whole third quarter and then only sat for a few minutes until Drummond got back in, and then basically had to shadow Drummond for the whole rest of the game. And he did a really good job doing that. And so as usual, I mean, I don't know what more there is to say about the ageless wonder, the HGH head honcho at this point, whatever we want to call him. But
I mean, Built Bar King.
Yeah. Yeah. The Built Bar King. Yeah. I mean, Taj Gibson is just fantastic though. I mean, I loved watching him play in this game, even if I think he got worked a little bit by Drummond, but it's so hard not to get worked by Drummond when you play. I mean, really, like Taj just sort of just plays like a smaller version of Drummond, who's older and a little less athletic and definitely less strong. So, like, if Drummond's playing at his absolute best, it's a really hard matchup for anybody, let alone Taj, who's kind of an undersized center to begin with. So I thought he did a really good job of containing him enough to not let him hurt the Knicks, basically. And like boxing him out in certain situations. So like RJ and Julius could get the boards and stuff like that. It was just a really good effort by Taj, stuff that didn't necessarily show up on the box score too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just shout out 2 plays. I mean, every time him and Derrick Rose run pick and roll, I get excited because it's something that again, was a feature of an NBA offense literally a decade ago. And the fact that it's still a feature of an NBA offense for even small moments is pretty amazing. And Taj is he's a great short roll passer, like on the run, just whipped it out to Burks on the money for a wide open three. Burks missed it. Taj got the rebound, pivoted, little push shot, automatic, 2 points. And then near the end of the game, had a pretty sweet double team that forced the Sixers to sort of like throw it off a Nick, threw it out of bounds. Then Tyrese Maxey's coming down the lane, a whole lot of momentum. And Taj basically, like, he half catches it, half blocks the shot. It was just great. Like he just has those moments where you're like, he should not be able to do that at this age. And yet he continues to be able to do those things with aplomb. All right. Let's circle around. RJ Barrett, mixed night, 40 minutes, 15 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, but just 6 for 20 from the field. So back to back, really bad shooting games for RJ. And it's a situation where it's so funny how you could watch, like, RJ's, like, I think is one of the greater disparities on like a night to night basis in terms of being able to watch a guy and say what he's ultimately going to be. And like on a night like tonight, like that guy is still like a really useful player, like someone who bullies his way into the lane and like gets assists and gets rebounds. And even when he's not shooting well, like finds a way to positively impact the game. But that's someone who you see is like, all right, he's like probably like a pretty good role player on a good team. And then you have nights like the Pelicans game where he looks like, all right, this dude is a mega star. He's going to make multiple all-star teams. He's going to be one of the 2 or 3 best players on a title contender. And none of this is new with RJ, right? Like this has been sort of his whole career. But I think I don't even want to say I'm frustrated. We're still so early into the season. You don't know like if the big games are the aberrations or if the bad games are the aberrations. But I kind of want to get 50 games into a year and see RJ even out a little bit to a point where even if one aspect of his game isn't working, he can still find ways to be efficient. And to me, that's all about him getting to the free throw line more. And on a night where, again, he made a lot of efforts to go to the rim, maybe you just credit Philly for good defense. Maybe you credit the officiating for letting things go. Like there were a number of times RJ ended up on the ground and there was no foul, but he only shot 1 free throw tonight. And I think to me, that's sort of what is lacking in terms of saying like, all right, how can this guy produce points efficiently, if not every night, then the vast majority of them?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I feel like the refs just kind of let them play in general tonight. Like both teams combined only shot 29 free throws in this game. That seems really low, but in particular, I mean, I don't think it's being homerish to say that. I mean, RJ gets hacked a lot. And I mean, I think this is even something that I had said I want him to do more going into the season was selling contact more. And he has been hitting the deck a lot. And I think he's doing that because he's realizing, hey, I'm getting slapped around a little bit here. So best way I can think of to show that is to hit the deck, when you're going up for a layup. And I mean, he legitimately gets hammered often and it doesn't get called. And so I don't know what he's got. I guess at a certain point, the respect will just come and he'll start getting those calls around the rim. He's not, though. He's certainly not like trying to draw the Harden, Trae Young, quickly last year or whatever type fouls where, he's just trying to BS his way into a foul. I mean, he's doing the right thing NBA offense wise and bullying his way in and, forcing his way to the rim, creating the space without committing an offensive foul and then taking a lot of contact from his defenders. And just because he happens to be getting the shots off clean and isn't just kind of flailing and throwing the ball up in the air, he's not really getting a lot of calls. But I hope we start seeing him get more of those as time goes on. Because, yeah, I mean, that's something that'll kill your field goal percentage real quick and make you leave a lot of points on the table, unfortunately, when you're not getting free throw calls, particularly in a weird game where it kind of felt like both teams were in the bonus relatively early, but then just weren't getting a lot of free throw attempts, strangely. So it was just kind of a weird game for that. And the refs kind of called it strange. I think we could probably just end off this show talking about perhaps Obi Toppin. I mean, considering the amount of time he did it in, I think he put up about as impressive of a 4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block stat line that you possibly could. Did it in all of 9 minutes. So if you put that out to per 36, he would have.
I was going to say that's Jonathan Macri's preseason bold prediction in a game right there.
Yeah, I mean, he would have had in 36 minutes, that fits in nice and evenly 4 times. So he would have had 16, 12, 12, and 4.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty much what he was saying. Yeah.
tidy little triple double with 4 blocks. I mean, his per minute production is getting too good to ignore. I don't know how to fix it is the problem, because even in this game, and there have been some other games too, where if the Knicks are facing like a pure center, you can't you can't run Obi out there as a small ball 5 against like an Andre Drummond. It can't happen. He's not strong enough. And you don't want to put Julius Randle in that situation either, because I don't think Julius can credibly defend a guy like a Drummond either. And you want Julius to kind of be the guy that muscles the way in for the rebounds after your center puts the big butt into the Andre Drummond already. That's kind of how Julius, I think, is most successful at getting boards. So you don't want him to be the guy that has to do the boxing out. It's just it's so perplexing, but I they need to find some way to play him more, Obi, that is, because he's just too good to ignore at this point. I mean, I don't know what the solution is at this point, but he's got to find more minutes soon, because he's every single time he's on the floor, he's impacting the game super positively. I kind of think maybe the solution to me would be, and I know that Julius loves to play every minute possible and all that good stuff, but my solution would probably be take Julius out earlier, give Obi a more extended run, from like the end of the first quarter through the middle of the second, and then have Julius's legs be better for, his second stint of the first half. And then conversely, like, you can come out more fresh in the second half and then do the same thing in the second half and then have more fresh for the stretch run down the game, as long as you can avoid him losing his rhythm or whatever. But it's going to be a really weird song and dance trying to find Obi minutes, but I really hope they figure it out soon, because every minute that he's on the court is just like electric. And, we ran into yet another situation in this game where it was like, it seemed like Obi was just getting going and then got taken out of the game. And it's just, it never ceases being disappointing. I didn't get to talk about it because I was off for the last episode, but like that was the biggest thing that was disappointing to me in the Cavs game, was literally like they were getting close and Obi, hits this like near back breaking like alley-oop jam, and then Tibbs takes him out and puts most of the starters back in right as the reserves were hitting their stride and providing the energy to make the push to potentially win the game. And it's that sort of thing's got to stop. Like they got to find a better balance to keep Obi out there if he's really cooking. Because it's getting kind of annoying to see him constantly start cooking and then get taken out and just told like, okay, well, your time's up. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me throw this at you. Do you know what Obi Toppin's current career high is in points?
Did he score 20 last year?
His career high in points, according to my very quick Google, so no one kill me on this if I'm wrong, was 14 points October 20th, 2021 against the Celtics, which is great. The first game of the season. Yeah, so that's
I guess I would believe that. He maybe set a different record during the Hawks series if they were counting postseason.
Yeah, maybe 15 in a game. But my point is, it's kind of like watching this guy. It's insane that he hasn't had a 20-point game in his career. Like I think quite literally, like it might be the first game Julius Randle, or I missed the preseason game. It might be the first regular season game that Randle misses that we see Obi. Like I feel like he is ready to have that kind of game at this point. It's not that his offensive game is so diverse, but he has so many easy ways to score now. Like he's legitimately like end to end in contention for one of if not the fastest player in the NBA. Like Rose hit him and it just looked like a racehorse just beating everyone down the court. Like, and he got an easy layup off of that. Then had that ridiculous, like where Alec Burks threw him a really bad pass ahead of everyone. Where Obi like sprinted it down and saved it somehow, got it back to Burks, got it to IQ for a 3. He missed a nice little slip pass from IQ. If not, he probably would have had another layup and would have been 4 for 5 in there, but then made up for it as Rose had this pretty sick double jump pass to him, and then he had the hang and hit. And that's the far and away the biggest difference from Obi, and this was really apparent in the Cavs game, is his ability to get all the way to the rim, whether it's just because he's being more decisive or because I think even more importantly, he's getting more time as a role guy in pick and rolls. He is getting to better spots. And then he's just that much more athletic, that much stronger, while still having the touch around the basket, which is the whole reason he went in the top 8 in the NBA draft in the first place. So I think he's waiting for a combination of the opportunity and the 3-point shot to sort of hit the heights that we saw in summer league, because that's been off for him since the first couple of games of the season. But I think there will be a night where all those factors come together and we see Obi scoring somewhere between 22 and 28 points in a big Knicks win.
All right. Well, I think that's as good a note as any to wrap up on this one. But again, Knicks win. And you know what? Shorthanded or not, a win's a win over the Sixers, because they couldn't beat the Sixers whether they were shorthanded or not for like 5 years. So we'll take this second win over them. The Knicks also 5-1 away from MSG so far this year with this 103-96 win over the Sixers. So we'll be back. We got some more game recaps for you guys this week. We also have some other good pods, I'm sure, that we'll come out with. But till next time, it's been real. And thanks for listening to Locked On Knicks. We'll be back in your feed soon. Peace out.